I used to think silence could keep me safe. At Northbridge Academy, an elite suburban school where the hallways smell like fresh wax and legacy whispers carry faster than the morning bell. The day they accused me of stealing from the booster fundraiser, the rumor sprinted ahead of me. Jordan did it. In a place where I'm one of the few black scholarship kids, a whisper isn't just noise, it's a verdict. Teachers looked past me, lockers clicked shut when I walked by, and someone typed, "Watch your bags," in our grade-wide group chat. What none of them knew was that the truth wasn't just going to clear my name, it was going to expose something none of them saw coming. Hi, I'm Jordan Price. If my story hits you, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment. It helps more than you know. Now, let me tell you what really happened. Northbridge Academy loves a performance. Pep rallies, spirit weeks, perfectly staged futures. That Friday morning, the gym smelled like hairspray and coffee while the peppy band practiced the same 3 bars on repeat. Posters shouted, "Trust," "Honor," "Pride." I'd taped 2 of them up myself for community service hours. Irony has a sense of humor. I'm a senior, a member of the National Honor Society, a robotics team, and have an after-school job in the student office to help pay for lab fees. My mom's a night shift nurse. We moved here when Northbridge offered me a scholarship and told her, talent deserves a chance. Most days I believe them, some days I don't. By the second period, people were watching me the way they watch a substitute teacher, polite on the surface, curious underneath. It started with a, "Hey, what's up?" that felt like a checkpoint, then another, "You hear about the money?" I heard everything. The booster fundraiser cash, money parents stuffed into an envelope at last night's varsity banquet, was missing from the front office. Ms. Delgado swore she'd sealed it. Security swore they'd locked the cabinet. The rumor swore I had keys. I do have keys. I log deliveries, file slips, and answer phones until 5 p.m. I also have a time-stamped entry sheet and a conscience that keeps me up when I so much as double-charge the vending machine. At my locker, Madison Whitmore leaned against the metal like it was a custom headboard. Madison is Northbridge royalty. Blonde ponytail, monogrammed water bottle, and a last name printed on the auditorium plaque. "Crazy morning," she said, voice sugary, eyes glassy. Her friends tried not to stare at my hoodie and second-hand boots. Security's checking lockers. Not that they'd need to if everyone here fit the culture. I smiled because we both understood what she meant. "Culture looks different, depending on where you stand," I said. Her mouth twitched. Coach Reynolds strode by, whistle bouncing, jaw clenched. "We expect integrity today," he announced, to no one and everyone, his gaze orbiting my face like a planet about to crash. I welded my stare to the floor. People called him a legend. I called him a weather vane, the first to turn when a storm rolls in. Third period, Ms. Delgado waved me into the office. "Jordan, honey, we're just going to peek at your locker. Routine." Her voice tried to be soft, her fingers strangled. A pen. Security Officer Daly stood behind her. Broad shoulders, crisp uniform, a polite stiffness. "You mind?" he asked, even though we all knew no wasn't in the script. I handed over the combination. He spun the dial, lifted the door, and my stomach fell through the floor. On the top shelf sat a manila envelope with a fat blue rubber band, the kind booster parents use when they mean business. Daly moved slowly, deliberately, the way people move when they already know what they'll find. He cracked the seal. Cash, 20s and 50s, blinked back. For a second, the room turned into an aquarium. Sound muffled, faces wavy. Ms. Delgado whispered, "Oh, Jordan?" like she'd just watched me trip in church. "I didn't put that there," I said. "It landed in the air like a paper airplane. True, but flimsy." Daly nodded a little, the way you nod at a child who insists the dog ate the homework. "We'll need to talk to Principal Hart. Bring your bag." "Can I call my mom?" I asked. A bit. By lunch, the group chat Northbridge Connect had its own trial. Someone posted, "When people don't respect our traditions, things go missing." Someone else added an emoji, brown hands under a magnifying glass. Liam from the AV club texted me privately, "You okay? Cameras in the 200 hallway have been broken for weeks. I can check the server. Maybe side angles." I typed please and erased thank you because I wasn't ready to sound grateful for help I shouldn't need. Between bites of tasteless chicken, Chase Dalton, varsity captain, drifted past my table in a cloud of cologne and confidence. He nodded. At me, then at the security office. The movement was tiny, but I felt it like a shove. I replayed the morning, Chase brushing my shoulder at the lockers, his duffel bumping my door. He grinned then, all teeth. Did he? No. The thought felt radioactive, but it glowed anyway. The call came during robotics. Jordan Price to the principal's office. The room exhaled. My robot whirred in the corner, blinking blue like it wanted to follow. I walked alone. Principal. Hart's office smells like new leather and mint tea. He folded his hands like a pastor. "Jordan," he started, "I've always admired your drive." Compliments are softeners before the needle. "We've convened a disciplinary board at 3 p.m. You'll have a chance to explain what happened." "What happened?" I said. "Is someone put an envelope in my locker that doesn't belong to me?" Hart glanced at Daly, then at a sheet of paper on his desk. "Security logs show you checked the cabinet key at 7:41 a.m. to file attendance. Packets." I put the key back at 7:49 a.m. Miss Delgado watched me lock the drawer. "She did," he conceded, "but the envelope appears in your locker, and with the current climate—" He paused, searching for a harmless word to replace a harmful idea. "We have to be thorough." "Current climate," I repeated. "You mean the part where I'm—" "Guilty first?" Silence. The clock on the wall coughed up another minute. 3 p.m., he said more gently. "You can bring a staff advocate if you like." I left without one. In the hallway, I bumped into Liam, hair static from whatever wires he'd crawled behind. "I found something," he whispered, pulling me into the empty media room. He loaded grainy footage on a monitor. Cafeteria angle, hallway angle, doorway angle. The 200 hallway camera was a black square, fried months ago. But from the stairwell cam, a sliver. A blurred figure near my locker just before 8. Head down, hood up. The shape looked like half the senior class on a cold morning. "Not helpful," I said, throat tight. "Maybe," Liam said, "but the timestamp matters." 2:57 p.m. I stood outside the boardroom, palms damp. Inside, Principal Hart, 2 teachers, a parent representative, Officer Daly, and Coach Reynolds for character perspective. Through the glass, Madison smiled at me from a bench, like this was a theater and she had a front row seat. I inhaled the sterile air and thought of my mom's hands, cracked from sanitizer, holding mine when the scholarship letter came. I thought of every early bus, every late night, every time I'd convinced myself excellence could outrun prejudice. I knocked once and opened the door. If Northbridge wanted a performance, I'd give them the truth and make them sit with it. Emily couldn't sleep that night. The words from the store kept echoing in her mind. "Get out. You don't belong here." She lay on her bed staring at the ceiling, her eyes wet with tears, wondering why her skin color had to decide her worth in the world. But deep inside, there was a small fire, a promise to herself that she wouldn't stay silent. The next morning, she walked into school and everyone's eyes followed her. Some whispered, some laughed, and some pretended she didn't exist. Yet Emily kept her head high. She joined the debate club that day, shocking everyone. When the coach asked her why, she replied firmly, "I want my voice to be heard. And if they think I don't belong, then I'll show them I do." The coach smiled. "Emily, this team needs fighters like you." That moment was the start of a change. For the first time, Emily felt she wasn't alone. Someone believed in her. Still, the challenges grew. At her first debate, a girl from the other team mocked her, saying in front of the audience, "Oh, you think she can win? She doesn't even belong on this stage." The audience went silent. All eyes turned to Emily. Her hands shook. Her heart raced, but then she remembered her mother's words. "Don't fight their hate with hate, Emily. Show them your light." Emily stood tall, took a deep breath, and delivered her arguments with such power and clarity that even the judges were stunned. At the end, the room erupted in applause. She didn't just win that debate, she shattered a wall that had been built around her for years. For the first time, the whispers in the hallways turned into quiet respect. And for the first time, Emily felt unstoppable. Emily's small victory spread faster than she expected. At school, teachers started noticing her confidence. Some classmates who once ignored her now whispered her name with curiosity. But success also brought new enemies. One afternoon, as Emily walked home, a group of kids blocked her path. "Don't think you're special just because you won one debate," a tall boy sneered. Another added, "Yeah, stay in your lane." Emily's stomach knotted, but she refused to look down. She pushed past them, whispering to herself, "I will not shrink. I will not break." That night, Emily shared the incident with her mom. Instead of anger, her mom smiled gently and said, "Baby, when they push harder, it only means you're moving in the right direction." Those words became Emily's shield. The very next week, Emily stood in front of her entire school at an assembly. She had been chosen to speak about leadership. Her voice trembled at first, but as she looked into the crowd, students, teachers, even the principal, she remembered every insult, every laugh, every time she was told she didn't belong. And then, she spoke with fire. Leadership isn't about the color of your skin, the money in your pocket, or the family you're born into. Leadership is about standing tall when the world tries to tear you down. The hall went silent. Some students clapped hesitantly, then louder, until the entire room was on its feet. Emily's words had pierced through every wall of doubt. For the first time, she wasn't just Emily, the poor black girl. She was Emily, the leader. Months passed, and Emily's voice kept growing stronger. She won more debates, gave more speeches, and even started mentoring younger kids who felt like outsiders. But life still tested her. One evening, Emily overheard two parents at school whispering, "She's talented, but will colleges really take her seriously?" Those words cut deep. For hours, she sat in her room staring at the ceiling, questioning everything. But then she remembered her mother's voice, her father's quiet pride, and the applause from that assembly. She stood in front of her mirror and whispered, "I don't need permission to dream. I'll prove them wrong." And prove them wrong, she did. The day her college acceptance letter arrived, Emily's hands shook as she opened it. Her eyes filled with tears as she read, "Congratulations. You've been accepted with a full scholarship." Her mom screamed with joy. Her dad, usually a quiet man, hugged her so tightly she could barely breathe. Emily had done the impossible. But before she left for college, she recorded one last message for her community, standing in the same broken neighborhood where her journey began. "My name is Emily. If my story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because I'll keep sharing stories that prove we are stronger than what the world says about us. And remember, dreams don't care about color, wealth, or status. Dreams belong to those who dare to chase them." Her video went viral. Thousands of people across the country wrote to her, saying she had inspired them to believe again. Emily didn't just leave her neighborhood with a scholarship. She left carrying the hopes of everyone who had ever been told they weren't enough. And from that day forward, she wasn't just a girl with a dream. She was a symbol of resilience.